Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the Gnome Train.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
So, I am Frazley, and I am joined by returning guest Jere, the artist formerly known as a gnome.
Yeah, there's been a couple changes since last time.
Wow, yeah.
All the way back on, I think I checked this morning, and the last time I was on your show was episode 14.
Wow. I don't even remember those episodes.
That is a long time ago. I think 2 years, and it was like July or August of 2017.
It's definitely been too long since I've had you on then. Wow.
And you've done an awesome job. I mean, episode 127, several years later. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. And I've been trying to refine that craft to really make things much better. So on this episode, we're going to catch up with you and your rating, talk about the cinematics with spoilers, but we will let you know when we get to that part. So, and then I have chapter marks. If you use an app that has chapter marks, you can skip past that. And then we're going to talk about the BlizzCon virtual ticket and more. But before we get into that, Epicinsanity, what time is it?
It's time to go around the table.
Great idea. So what have you been up to recently? We will start with Jere.
So since we're coming up on the end of the summer, I'll just catch you up real quick on what I did over the summer. So I had a couple trips that I did. I got to actually meet a bunch of the people that I raid with in Facepull.
Nice.
So they had a meetup in Atlanta in June. Went out there and it was an awesome time. So what was cool about it was I was able to meet a bunch of people from the raid team, and I've been working over the last couple of years of going to all of the Major League Baseball stadiums. So I was also able to get an Atlanta Braves game in there.
Very nice. And as you drove through Atlanta, did you see the giant Dave Ramsey billboard?
I did not.
Oh, I remember when we drove through Atlanta a couple of years ago. That's what I remember is this giant billboard, and it's Dave Ramsey being like, financial peace.
I probably saw it. I just probably don't remember. That was a real good time. So I got to meet Navox and his wife, Lisa, Lonnie, Esh, Jade, Eamon, Avalinar, Junkster, and Ben.
Wow.
We did a escape room, which I had never done an escape room. I don't know if you've ever done one.
I actually led a couple of escape rooms for kids a couple of years ago. So kids in the families, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, this was my first one doing one. A couple people in our group had done them before. It was a lot of fun, and we did pretty good. I think the time limit was an hour, and we got out in 40 minutes.
Nice.
And they said we were one of the faster times. And it was like a multi-room escape room. There were 3 rooms total that we had to kind of work our way through. It had a theme of traveling through time. So it was someone in the past stole a weapon from the future, and you had to go to the past, find the weapon, and then get it back safely to the future.
Oh, that's cool. And I mean, it probably helped being a raid team. You probably knew how to work together in different areas.
Everybody kind of pitched in, and if you already saw some people working on one clue, you would break off and look for other clues on your own.
That's cool.
And then we also went to, I think the place was called Battle and Brew. We went there at night, and that was really cool. There's no places like this around. I live about an hour south of Chicago, and I've never seen a place like this. It was like a huge bar with it had like a small restaurant section, but then the entire rest of the bar had all these stations. There were some stations in the middle that were like round tables with PC set up, and people were sitting there gaming. And then just all these other sections with couches and big chairs, and pretty much any gaming system you can think of was there with, like 70-inch TVs. And you could just play games for, you would buy like a time slot of an hour or 2 hours, and then they bring you food, they bring you drinks, and we just, chilled out playing games all night.
Oh, that's cool. I know there's one that's near us that's kind of like that, except it focuses on retro games. But I mean, that's awesome. So take away the hassle, having set up the games, have it just there, and you just show up with friends.
Yeah, so they would get the system rolling, and if you wanted to switch the system or if there were any problems, you could always get a hold of someone, and they'd come over and take care of it for you. And then some of us were there an extra day, so we hit up the Georgia Aquarium. And then I did some hiking at Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield. That was interesting. I've got a friend out in New York, or he actually lives in New Jersey, but me and another friend went out and met him, and we all went to the Iron Maiden concert.
Ooh.
Did the World Trade Center, the new World Trade Tower. We went up to the top of that, to the observatory deck. that was definitely worth. It's a little pricey. It's like $40, but it's definitely worth doing it if you're out there. And then while I was out there, I took in a New York Mets game. So with those two stadiums being checked off my list this summer, I'm halfway through. I'm up to 15 of the 30 baseball stadiums.
Nice. So I mean, it sounds like quite a home run of a summer.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, other than that, just doing basic stuff, watching movies, watch the U.S. women's national team win the World Cup again, which was awesome. Going to the Maiden concert kind of got me just paying a little more attention to music again, and came across two really cool metal bands. Glory Hammer, I've been listening to them a lot. They're worth checking out. Kind of a nerdy premise. They're from Europe. All their albums tell a continuing story of an evil wizard invading 10th century Scotland, and then each member of the band plays a character through the story. And as the albums progress, they chase the wizard to the future and then go back to the past. And I definitely recommend checking it out if you enjoy metal music.
Oh, that's cool.
There's another band called Wind Rose. They just had a new album come out this week. If you play a dwarf and you like metal music, you have to check this band out because they're an Italian dwarven themed metal band. And they just had this new album called Winter Saga just came out this week, and they actually did a cover of the FrazlCast Diggy Diggy Hole song. If you're into video games or nerdy stuff, dwarves, metal, those are two bands that are really worth checking out.
Nice. I'm definitely going to check out both of those because I'm always into nerdy stuff, and that sounds awesome.
I've seen you playing some different games other than WoW, and I've mostly been playing WoW, but other games, just finishing up Red Dead Redemption 2 and doing some of the online. I don't take it seriously or anything. I pretty much just jump on with my brother, and we just run around, rob people, and try, take out bounties. And Hitman was just free on Xbox, so I picked that up, and I've been playing that. And I'm waiting for Baldur's Gate. They're putting Baldur's Gate on an Xbox, so I'm really looking forward to playing through that again.
That's one I've never beat, that Baldur's Gate, but that one definitely looks fun. And Hitman, I need to finish a Hitman game, but I always enjoyed those of going through. Is this the Hitman that's online?
This is just the single player version.
Okay.
So I guess the last game that came out, they had a season pass. So this is the entire year one of the season pass.
Nice.
I'm not sure how many missions are on there. I've done 2 or 3 of them. I always end up doing them. You try to do them multiple different ways, sneak through, try to do them without killing somebody, try to do it without killing everybody, or try to do it with killing everybody. Do it all the different ways you can do it.
And those games have always been fun. I remember I love seeing how the enemies respawn when I mess up somewhere, or when I do something. I remember one of them was the mansion. I'm trying to remember, but it was one of the Hitmans, and I did get to this mansion, and I killed somebody over in the kitchen, and I left. And I was over and heading down into their luxury cave winery, and all of a sudden I hear everybody screaming and it distracted enough to get to my next target. So that was fun.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool, all the different ways that you can find to get through a level. And then it's also kind of cool how things can go to hell really fast.
Yes.
It's not one of those games. If you try to just run in and shoot somebody to take them out, next thing you know, you've got guards and police and everybody chasing you.
Yeah.
For WoW, one thing I did was I picked up, I don't know if you saw that WoW diary that John Statz put out. He was one of the original developers. I picked that up and read it, and it's really interesting. Usually I'll have trouble getting through nonfiction books. I just get bored or whatever. And even though I'm not a game developer, there was so much good, just interesting information in there on how the game was built and the problems that they went through and how they solved them. I think it's also really good for, you'll see these comments all the time where someone's like, I don't like this in the game. This has to be an easy fix. Why don't they just fix this? It must be easy. And there were some examples in there of, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I remember while I was reading, I would come across something that, on the surface, you would think, oh, this should be easy to fix. But he would explain how it's connected to 4 or 5 other things. And if they change one thing, they're, screwing up other things down the line.
About a year ago, I interviewed him with Ali, and then I was listening to some of his podcasts, and he has an amazing way of explaining it. And it changed my perspective to make it much more forgiving of developers. I mean, they make mistakes, but understanding that it's not as cut and dry as we think it is sometimes.
Right. Especially for a game that at this point has been out for 15 years. So I can't even imagine. It's the biggest ball of Christmas lights just in a huge knot that you could ever think of.
Yeah, and if you do one thing, you break things. Like I keep hearing that from different people that the Worgen and Goblin areas are still broken in 8.2.5, and that's when they add the Worgen and Goblin models upgraded.
Yeah, I every time I go to level a Worgen, I always start leveling, and then it's just weird. Like even every time you go to loot a mob, there's lag, and it's rough getting through that area. It's probably one of my least favorite starting zones in the game. But as far as actually playing the game, with Facepull, we were working on ahead of the curve for the Ashara raid. We just got that a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
I knocked out the Dark Iron and the Gnome Heritage Armor. I know we were talking, you were talking about the Gnome stuff, and yeah, I used to be a Gnome, and then when I moved to Airy Peak, I race changed to human, and then when the Dark Iron Dwarfs came out, I changed the Dark Iron. And I don't think I'll change again, because I really like being a Dark Iron Dwarf. Finally, I got some really good drops this summer. I finally got Tayshalak from Agromar. I kept farming it every week, even after Legion was over, because especially for a Dark Iron Dwarf, like that's just the perfect sword for a Dark Iron.
Yeah.
And then with the Warfronts, I finally got the Arathi Warfront to drop the fancy version of the shoulders with the lion heads on them.
Oh, and am I right? Navix is still working on those?
He got them.
Okay.
I finally got them.
I was like, otherwise Navix would be so angry right now.
Yeah, I did not want to get them before him. I would have felt bad. What was weird was I finally got them, and then the next week they dropped again. I was like, what are the odds of that? It's like I'm farming these, doing the Warfront only to get these stupid shoulders, and then they ended up dropping twice in a row. Yeah,
it's like when you need them, they're not there, but when you don't need them, oh, okay, it's like candy. Yeah.
And I'm pretty much done with the Warfronts. I had another just a lucky night. I was on one of my Horde characters, and I got the Knight. Can't remember what it's called. It's like a Night Saber. It's one of the dark cats, and then I left there and went to Arathi, and I got the Raptor to drop, and that finished off the mounts from the Warfront. So I was like, I need to go buy a lottery ticket tonight because I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, absolutely, and use numbers 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
And let's see. Other than that, I got my neck to 67, so I've got all the bonus stuff from the neck. I've heard somebody on Twitter was telling me that if you hit 70, you get a toy. So I guess I'll just kind of passively keep leveling it. I'm not going to grind or anything like that.
Yeah, a toy and a story, because I know Pete's working on that. I know Vel is getting close to tomorrow. I'm not even anywhere close to that, but yeah, there's definitely a toy at that.
Nice. Yeah, so things are kind of slowing down right now, I guess, which is fine with me, because I mean the expansion's been out for over a year, so I don't mind things slowing down a little bit. Plus, Classic is out, and I've ended up enjoying that way more than I thought I would.
Same. I've definitely been enjoying Classic as well. I'm kind of the same boat as you. I mean, in life, I've been working on migrating systems at work, so got another big one coming on Tuesday. Just watching some different things, like got caught up in becoming a god in Central Florida, and I used to sell MLMs, so this show is definitely right up my alley, and like I get all the different things and stuff like that, and I hope I'm not Garble, because he's doing his like monologues and his thing like, I hope my podcasts for Be Great Today are not like Garble. I took that pelican and made it mine and stuff like that, and then I finished season 1 of The Politician, and Zortz, if Zortz is listening, will be proud of me. I am now playing Stardew Valley a lot. I was actually playing even before the show. I found a way to copy my saves between PC, Mac, and iPad and iPhone. So I did not realize that the saves work between all of them. So I'm really enjoying it. And there's game controller support in iOS 13. So I can just be somewhere on my iPad playing Stardew Valley and then come back to the PC and keep playing. So, and I'm starting to understand the calendar system. I'm starting to understand selling stuff. So the game's no longer taxing. Like and it's relaxing. There's still different things I'm learning. Playing Outlast for my October Scream streams. So got pretty far. So way better than I have in the past attempts. I usually did not get past the first jump scare at that one door, and I got pretty far at this time. So I'm going to definitely be in October trying to finish Outlast, maybe finish the DLC, Outlast 2, maybe get the Amnesia. So just trying different things. It helps with stream, because with the stream's there, and the stream helps keep me motivated to keep going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would just give up. I'd be like, I'm done. And there were a few moments where I was like, okay, stream's watching. I'll keep going.
You have to check that game out. I wouldn't mind taking October and trying to looking for some horror themed games.
Believe me, Outlast and Amnesia are two amazing games. Like I've seen a friend play all of Amnesia Dark Descent. I need to play it myself. And in fact, I need to play the original Amnesia as well. And also Penumbra. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few games. Every year I'm going to try horror games in October.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try that Friday the 13th game. I saw the reviews on it were kind of so-so, but it sounds like it would be fun. One person gets to be Jason, and everyone else playing is the camp counselors trying to get away from him.
Oh, nice. And I bet that has online multiplayer. That'd be a fun stream game, too.
Yeah, get your viewers to play. You can hunt them down.
Oh, so all those times they make wisecracks at me, Kappa, I'm coming for you. No, I better not say that because then Kappa would mow me down. And then in WoW, like I said earlier, Fraz's neck is 62. I finally got the Brew of the Month Club, and that means I finally have Brewmaster done.
Oh, congrats.
Working on that long, strange tripper spin and doing that. Then did quite a few things like time walking, heroic warfronts, Mystic Islands. Other than that, I tried to run LFR for Zayquil and Ashara last night. I would have run it today, but work went a little bit longer, and then I was done with work. I was like, I don't want to think of anything stressful, so I just went to Stardew Valley. But our group wiped one time on Zayquil, and then everybody just started logging off, and the group, we sat around there for a while, the group just kept getting smaller and smaller. I'm like, I should just go to bed.
Yeah, that's always frustrating. People have no patience in LFR usually.
Because the worst case, if you wipe a few times, you get determination. I mean, it's
right. When you post about going into ICC, I'm always pulling for you to finally get that mount.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And with your RNG that you've had recently, maybe that'll finally rub off on me and I can get it.
Yeah, I should definitely be going in there. For a while, I was running it. I would go in there every week, and I would do it Nixia too. I was using the simplearmy.com has that feature where you go to the collections page, but you could actually track. It gave you like a path to follow to go and hit all the mounts that you don't have. It would look at your list of mounts that you had and then put a list together of a path for you to follow to knock them out.
Yeah, because it's nice to say, like, go here. It's interesting that I talk about LFR and my frustrations, because I know you've not been frustrated with raiding. That's because you're part of a raiding group, Facepull.
So I am part of a raiding group called Facepull, but I would not say that I have not been frustrated with raiding because I can still get frustrating. But as far as dealing with groups, yeah, there's no frustration with Facepull. I'm very glad that I found them when I did. So yeah, since I hooked up with them a little bit before Antorus, and every raid since then we've been able to achieve ahead of the curve, which is nice.
So how did you get started raiding?
I guess I would have to go back to the first MMO that I played was Star Wars: The Old Republic. So they had operations, which were basically the same thing as raiding, and that was my first taste of getting into an MMO and then working my way to endgame. And I was in a real good guild in that game. It was more casual, but we just had a lot of fun. It was a good guild to be in to learn how to raid without having a lot of pressure, or like we talked before you were recording, you can get in some groups where you've got people making you feel like you're stupid or people are yelling at each other, and there was none of that went on. So it was a good learning experience. And then when I switched over to WoW for the longest time, I just, for a while I played by myself. Then I joined a guild where we were just doing normal content. And then I just decided I wanted to see if I was good enough to play on a team that could get ahead of the curve. And raiding's I just think it's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite things to do in an MMO. So I guess that's what kind of got me into it. Just the pull of playing these games in general. One of the biggest pulls was playing with a large group of people, going into a dungeon and taking out monsters. It's just a lot of fun.
Would you say that it's like partly community, but partly challenging yourself and seeing how good you can be against the mechanics?
Yeah, it's both of those things. And it's also, I really like the story that goes on with the game too. So going into the raids, and I thought the Eternal Palace was really well done. It just looks really awesome going through there and seeing. If you pay attention to everything going on in the background, there's just so much to look at. And it's almost like every time you go in there, if you look, you'll see things that you didn't notice in the past.
That's cool. So what brought you to Facepull specifically?
Lonnie just put up a Twitter post that somehow I got connected to. They were doing carries for Tomb of Sargeras to get people ahead of the curve. And then I was also at that point where this is when I was deciding that I wanted to try to step up and and challenge myself a little more and get on a raid team that was pushing harder content. So I figured it was a way for me to check out the team. So I scheduled a run with them. Pretty much the whole time I played WoW, I've been lucky, met decent people. I haven't had bad experiences like some people had, but the run that I did with Facepull, Lonnie took the time to, during the run, she just sent me a whisper saying, hey, we're glad you're here and we hope you're having a good time. And I was like, that was really cool. Most time you run with a group and you're an extra person or they're carrying you, they never say anything to you other than kind of don't get in our way and don't screw things up. And she took the time to say that. So right then and there, I knew I was dealing with a group of people who were kind of people I like to play with, and then their raid times synced up well with me. And since I've been on the team, it's just both the way the game is approached and just the people in general, the way people act. It's a very good mix of being mature adults, but still having fun. And then in the game, setting aggressive goals, pushing to get there, holding people accountable, but not going over the top and acting like it's a part-time job or something. Just a great atmosphere to raid in.
So realizing that you're not method and limit and having to give up your job for about 2 weeks to get things done.
Exactly. And I think sometimes people get caught up in that, they think they are. And it's nobody should. I wouldn't even want to play at that level. That's like insanity.
Yeah.
Hearing about the stuff they do just to prep for when they're going for a world first, it's nuts.
And they do an amazing job, but yeah, it's and I like that Facepulls realize the limitations. I mean, it's the same that with podcasters, some want to act like they have a team full of thousands of people working on their show, and you have to realize that you're a podcaster with a part-time job or a full-time job, so you can't be the same caliber, but you do the best you can.
Right. So yeah, it's just a real good balance. You make sure that you're not too casual, because I've been on some raid teams in the past where people just don't care to show up on time. They don't come with the items that they're supposed to have with them, and they just expect everyone to hand things to them. And that can cause problems if people are too casual. But then, real life happens, and real life is always more important. So if somebody has to sit out for the night, or even tonight, while we were waiting to start this, Lonnie had sent me a message just saying they might, if they needed my help, could I step in? And I told her, I can't tonight because I'm doing your podcast. And she was just like, oh, awesome. Have fun. Someone doesn't try to guilt trip you and make you feel bad because you're not there when they need you to be there.
Yeah. And thank you, Lonnie, for letting Jere be here. So what would you say has been the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome in raiding?
My lack of skill sometimes. Sometimes it's just, it's frustrating, especially when you're learning fights for the first time. And I struggle on heavy movement fights. It's just my play style, and I'm just sometimes not fast enough. So that can be frustrating. Having some attention deficit issues comes into play too. I can lose focus sometimes, especially late into the night. For my job, I'm usually getting up at 4:30 in the morning. So by 9:00 at night, when we're pretty far into raid night, if you're starting to get tired, it can be hard to keep focus sometimes. And again, on fights like the last couple of raids have been a lot of fun, and the challenge is great, but there's so many mechanics going on sometimes that if you lose focus for a couple seconds, next thing you know, you're standing in something or screwing something up. So I'd say that's the biggest thing. It's just getting over trying to learn the fights, and there's a little bit of pressure. Even when you're on a great team that isn't putting stress on you, you can still feel stressed because you want to do good. You don't want to be the reason that a pull gets wiped, but it happens.
And hearing the stuff helps me understand the reason why I'm not currently raiding, because some of it I wouldn't be able to do all the stuff. I'd be the one having to show up and get mats, not intentionally. I wouldn't not do it, but just the time. And yeah, I've got ADHD if people haven't ever figured that out.
Yeah, it can be a challenge. It's interesting. It's not a big deal, but it's funny when I try to explain it to people. Sometimes it's you can be telling yourself in your head, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Next thing you know, it's you're not paying attention. Not paying attention. You just don't have control sometimes.
So I know Lonnie and Echelon do an amazing job with strats, but what is the resource you use most to get ready for your raid nights?
I'll throw Ben in there too. Ben's our raid leader as well, and he does a great job of leading the raids and putting strats together. But outside of those people stepping up, and that's another thing that's unique about Facepull that I've noticed is some of the other raid teams that I've been on, there's either one raid leader or maybe two. They talk, and everyone else is expected to just keep your mouth shut. You're not supposed to, don't speak up. And while Useless chatter is definitely kept to a minimum so you can hear the people who are talking. It's a very open environment for people to share ideas and help each other out. But outside of the raid team itself, like most people, I go to Wowhead and I can read a strat multiple times or I can watch a video. But at the end of the day, I just have to do it. Usually read up on the fights. I'll watch Fat Boss videos before we do something for the first time. So at least I'm not going in completely blind. But at the end of the day, I just have to do it. And it's just the repetition of finding how it's going to work. And most of the time anyway, I think most raid teams have to find their way of doing it. Like you take advice from a lot of different sources and then you just have to come up with what works best for your team of players.
I can definitely relate to like guides and stuff like that. I've tried watching guides, and even like the adventure guide I finally learned after 3 or 4 years of being back. I finally learned to check the adventure guide for strats, and I still have to do the fight to understand what's going on. And even then, sometimes it's hard for me to understand it. I do it a few times.
That's something else that I really enjoy about raiding. It's frustrating at first when you go into a new raid and you're trying to learn the fights, but then you get to that point a month or so later where you realize it just suddenly became like second nature. Like you just know when things are going to happen, and that's always a cool feeling.
Yeah, and just doing the right technique. And I would say in a good way, sometimes WoW seems better tuned than I did never high end rating, but I even did dungeons in Final Fantasy 14, and I always felt like that game was tuned to have no lag. At least WoW's a little bit forgiving. I mean, there's still times you can wipe and stuff like that, but it's at least a little bit better.
Yeah, I'd be curious to go back to Star Wars: The Old Republic and try it again now that I've been raiding in WoW for a couple of years, because I think those raids would feel a lot different. I know one of my good friends, Mist, I met her playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, but her main game is WoW. She always used to, when we were playing Star Wars, because I'd be like, oh, this is so hard. She's like, yeah, this really isn't that hard. You need to switch over to WoW and start playing that game. If I recall correctly, it wasn't nearly as mechanic heavy as the WoW raids are.
And if I understand right, WildStar took it a step further. Like, I mean, it was really cool, but WildStar had like raids that like you could clearly see the tells, and the developers wanted you to see the tells, but it was even more mechanics based than WoW could be at times. I mean, like you had to do like a floor dance and stuff like that.
Most of the MMOs, I've tried them at least for an hour or so, and I think I tried WildStar. It was the art style I couldn't really get into, but I'm pretty sure I heard the raids were one of the biggest good points of that game.
Yeah. So you mentioned a meetup in Georgia earlier. Aside from that, would you say that there's anything else that's been the best thing that's happened to you since you started raiding with Facepull?
Several years ago, me, my brother, and sister, we used to play Call of Duty all the time, and we became friends with some guys from Boston, and they had like a moving company, so they were like the first people that we met. It's just funny how even that's changed over the years, the attitude towards it, because I remember when we met them, people would be like, wait a minute, who are you going to meet? We're like, these guys that we've been playing Xbox with, and they're like, how do you know they're not murderers or something like that? People were freaking out, acting like it was all weird. And it's like, look, we've been playing with these guys for like 2 years. So I'm like, I talk to these guys more than I talk to people that I know in quote unquote real life, Yeah. It's good to meet people, actually put a face and have face-to-face conversations with people that you game with a lot.
So what advice would you give to someone looking to get into raiding and join a raid team?
I would say if you're looking to get into it and you've never really done it before, definitely start off trying. I know, we mentioned earlier, LFR can be frustrating, but try that out first just to get in there and just try it and get your feet wet. And then, CTR is a great place, in my opinion, to be because there's so many different raid teams, and they do the raid recruiting nights where you can actually talk to different raid teams and figure out if they're a good fit for you. And I think that's the most important thing. Figure out what your goals are. Do you want to do normal? Do you want to do heroic or mythic? Find out what you want to work your way up to, and then find a good group of people that you feel comfortable playing with who are working on that kind of content. Don't force yourself into a group. I hear these crazy stories of people putting up with screaming and name calling and all this kind of mess, and it's like, never should you put up with that for a video game. So if you have to leave a team, leave a team. There's no big deal. It's just a video game. But if you have that opportunity, which is really unique, I think, to CTR, but if you have it, talk to people, get to know the team, and then just find a good group of people, maybe jump around to a couple different teams, do some trial runs with them until you find people that you have fun playing with. And don't be afraid to, if you need to, take it down a notch. If you're finding that you're not having fun, My thing always is if you're doing something, anything in the game, whether it's raiding or islands or world quests, whatever it may be, if you're doing it and it feels like you're doing a chore and you're not having fun, it's time to stop doing it. So if you thought you would like heroic raiding and you start doing it and you're like, this is stressful, I don't like it, there's absolutely no problem with going down and doing normal. You still get to see the raid, you still get to kill the bosses. And usually, you know, if you want, every once in a while, there's a raid that has a mount from ahead of the curve. It's not that hard to find a group that'll run you through it. In my opinion, is never pay for that stuff. Don't pay gold. Certainly don't pay real money. There's, even outside of CTR, you can go on Twitter and there's perky pugs. There's always cool groups of people that will run you through for free and help you out.
Yeah, I got the Friendship Moose through Friendship Moose, and then I think it was Facepull that helped me get the last one. I'm forgetting what it was called. But yeah, if I did not get it to one of those groups, I would definitely not have paid gold for it because I barely have enough gold sometimes.
Yeah, same with me. I got the moose from, I did a run with Automatic Jack. And
oh, nice.
I got it with them because that was during Warlords, and I wasn't in a guild or anything. I was playing by myself back then. So if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have gotten that mount.
Yeah, I remember Zealous. I was just went late at night in one of the lotteries, and all of a sudden they said my name. I was like, no, they didn't say my name. And like that was one. I didn't have a high level character, so I mean I had like a 100, so and didn't even not unlock Tanan Jungle. So I kind of found my way over to Tanan Jungle. That was an experience.
Nice. For a couple weeks, I was logging in on both my Alliance character and my Horde character, just trying to get through, and finally I got through on Jack's stream on my Horde.
Gadzooks, spoiler warning. So you and I have been in WoW for a little while. There were two amazing cinematics in 8.2.5. The Negotiation and Reckoning. So Jere, what are your thoughts initially on this?
So the Negotiation, it was good, but to me it was a little just kind of standard, like, you know, oh, here we go. This is where Horde and Alliance are just going to come together again and do what they have to do, which has happened multiple times in the game. But whatever. I mean, it's a video game. It can't get too crazy with its narrative. So I thought it was good. It was just more standard. But Reckoning was pretty amazing. All of the CG cinematics, but all the Sourfang ones. I mean, they've all been good, but the Sourfang ones especially have been telling a really good story. And it kind of went where I thought it was going to go. I never understood people who thought that Sylvanas was going to have some kind of a redemption. I'm like, there is no redemption coming back from what she did. I mean,
yeah,
just starting a war or being Horde and Alliance fighting, maybe you can come back from that. But when you burn down the World Tree and commit genocide against the Night Elves, nobody's going to forgive her for that.
No.
And it wouldn't have been good for the story if they went to go that route. So any criticisms I would have, it was almost, if you've seen the Warcraft movie, it was almost too much like the end of the Warcraft movie. Because Gul'dan defeated Durotan almost the exact same way. They had a Makara and he ended up using magic against them. But it was still interesting. I'm not quite sure what magic Sylvanas used. Like at first I thought for sure it was from N'Zoth, but then I know there's that extra Horde cinematic that the players who were loyal to Sylvanas got to see, and it sounded like she wasn't teamed up with him. She actually doesn't care about him. Like she plans on taking him down too. And then she kept mentioning death, so I'm like, I don't really know where that's coming from. I know in Legion, you know, she was trying to work out some kind of a deal with Helia. In one of the quests in the game, I can't remember which one it was, but Bwansamdi is even talking about how he's always wanted the spirit of a war chief. So I'm like, could she have made some kind of deal with Bwansamdi even? So I liked it a lot. I thought it told a story that I kind of thought was coming, but they're just getting so good at doing these things. I was especially noticing even in the earlier ones, the facial expressions on Sourfang were amazing. But Sylvanas, too, when she was like getting real close, after she cut Sourfang up, and I think she leaned down and told him that he was, she trusted him and everyone trusted him, just the look on her face. Every time I watch one of those and they keep getting better and better, all I keep thinking of is that I want a movie. I want a Blizzard-made, full CGI Warcraft movie, because I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, and like they could even do like a Netflix series and just like release it when they're ready. So like Netflix has been doing even like short movies, and I could see them doing it like that. And I mean, because they don't have to release it all in one go, and it doesn't have to be like a full 1 hour. It could be like 30 minutes here, 15 minutes here.
Yeah, it would be amazing. I like the Warcraft movie. When you read up on what was going on in the background with studio interference with that movie, it's pretty amazing it turned out as good as it did. And I think that was because of Duncan Jones's love for the game.
Yeah.
He made sure a lot of important little things got in there that WoW players noticed, or in Warcraft players.
And that movie still is dear to my heart. That I remember back when I was here for Vanilla, that we had heard that a movie was in the works. I mean, there was one of those back then. It was a rumbling that there was a Warcraft movie, and we're like, whoa. And then when I hear later on that they finally were doing, I wasn't playing WoW when I was hearing all the news going on. I was like, they're finally bringing the Warcraft movie out. That was such a cool thing. This thing goes, and I know that MNOs, people who have worked on the Warcraft movie, and they said like the love and the care that went into that. In this cinematic that we saw with the Reckoning, there were moments that I actually forgot that it wasn't the Warcraft movie.
Yeah, because the orcs in the movie look just like the orcs in the cinematics. Yeah.
Last week, Schoon was talking about how the visual effects are so well done. I mean, like there's details that we don't even see that the animators put time into, and it's like it's pretty incredible. I do know that my nephew said that there was a Activision Blizzard Skylanders animated series. I wonder if it's the same team that worked on these.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's definitely possible. And did you notice the moment in Reckoning when Sylvanas, when she had her eye cut and initially said, "You're nothing"? I could tell that was a slip up. It was that same moment, like in the tree. Like I know that they brought gasoline and all those throwers to Teldrassil, so that, I mean they're bringing the weapons. I mean, it's like if you're ever not wanting to do something, don't bring it with you. Don't bring the alcohol with you. But I could tell that she didn't mean to let it slip, but then she was too far in.
Yeah, she definitely has some impulse control problems.
Yes.
And Sourfing knows that. So I think that was his whole point that's what he wanted. He knew he was going to get killed, but he wanted her to show her hand to everybody else who was watching and that she's not for the Horde. And I don't think she's ever been for the Horde. I see a lot of people make comments who are Sylvanas fans, and they'll say things like Blizzard's ruining this character out. And to me, I'm like, this is who this character's always been. I never really took her seriously. I think she was not only using the Horde, I think she was using the Forsaken. She just kind of came in and, she became the leader, and I'm not an expert on lore by any means. So if I make mistakes, feel free to let me know. But, the Forsaken are humans from Lordaeron who were killed by the Scourge, and she was a night elf. And I've always kind of been like, well, why does she get to come in and just take everything over? Everything's my people, we this. And I'm like, well, it just never came off as genuine to me. I'm like, she has her own agenda, which is just trying to stay alive and be immortal. And I don't think she really cares about anybody.
Yeah. And I remember like when right at the funeral scene on the Horde side, after Vol'jin died, Sylvanas looked at me like she wanted to kill me. She back then, she just became the war chief. She hated my guts back then. I mean, a lot of people hate my guts, but that's a whole different thing.
Always figured this is where her story would go. It wasn't going to have a happy ending.
And this was the ending I kept hoping. I, all the way along, saw the word Battle for Azeroth. I knew that the faction, it was a deception. And I'm not trying to say like I told you so, but I always had that feeling that it was more than this, and it was the old gods. And I think maybe a lot of people did, but it's, as Schoon said, it's cool to see the characters in game finally accept that.
Yeah, I am curious to see, because I really thought it was going to come out that she was just aligned with the N'Zoth, but it doesn't sound like that's the case after watching that extra Horde cinematic. So I'm curious to see where that goes, because I'm hoping we get a big N'Zoth reveal moment where he just shows up and starts tearing everything apart. I think most people have heard the leak or the rumor that Shadowlands is the next expansion. Now, I don't know exactly what that entails. I was kind of hoping they were going to go full Return of the Black Empire and like have the old gods just come back and totally wreck Azeroth, and we'd have to find some way to push back against them. But I'm hoping that he shows up. But now if he shows up, I don't know what she's going to do. Like, yeah, she didn't really sound like she was necessarily on his side either. So
I'm trying to remember who it was. It was either Pete or Pat or This. Somebody was talking about how, in a way, that we need Sylvanas, and that we need Sylvanas' army to take on N'Zoth. Chat, somebody who wants to remain nameless, and then Capo, Ali, and Leo Wild are talking about like the power that Sylvanas had, and Leo Wild saying even Jaina and Thalassara didn't know what the magic was.
Right. Yeah, and I see Eliandra's comment about she's serving some kind of death god. That's why I was wondering, like, is Blaylock involved somehow? Because he's already mentioned that he wants a war chief, and she's already proven that she'll make pacts with Helya. So why wouldn't she make a pact with Blaylock? And I almost hope that that's the case, because I love that character. he was my favorite part when I would level a Horde character. Anything with Blansamdi, I was all for.
Oh, Blansamdi is an amazing character. I remember dying for the first time, even as Alliance. It was like, oh, who's this? Oh, he's cool. I mean, he made a deal with death. And yeah, Ali brings up a good point that even Blansamdi has talked about serving a master. I'm like, yeah. So where do you think we go from here?
To be honest, I don't really know. I definitely think 8.3 will have a raid, and I think Sylvanas will be the final boss, because it seems like they released those 3 Warbringers animated shorts. We fought Jaina, we fought Ashara, so it just makes sense that we would fight Sylvanas, and I'm sure we're not going to kill her. She'll get away, or actually I think she's going to end up defeating us somehow, and then kind of reveal what her plan is, and then she'll take off, and we'll have to deal with her in the next expansion or whatever. And as far as the site of it, I was thinking that maybe it was going to be Thunderbluff, that she would go after Thunderbluff because of everything with Bane. But there is that line from the Before the Storm book where she mentions she wants to go after Stormwind. So I don't know if maybe she would attack Stormwind. Other than an option like that where she goes after an Alliance city, yeah, I don't really know where we're going to go, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be involved.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a wrecked Stormwind, because then we could get a new city redone. I mean, I know Vel's going to be like, but what about Summermoon City? But I mean, Stormwind needs to be redesigned. I mean, even going through Classic, Stormwind hasn't changed a lot. I mean, we got a park and a harbor, but it'd be kind of cool to redo it and like add in some more depth. I mean, imagine a Suramar like Stormwind.
Yeah, as long as they don't mess with Lion's Rest Park, because that's my favorite area. Not only Stormwind, but it's one of my favorite areas in the game. Plus, the park was destroyed for all those years after Cataclysm, and the park just got a redesigned park in Legion. So don't mess with our nice park in tribute to Varian Wrynn.
That is true. Yes, it's a very nice park. I mean, going out there, laying in the sun, and soaking up the rays.
Yeah, sometimes if I'm in the game but I'm doing something else on the other screen, I'll go there just to listen to the music while I'm working on things.
And it is interesting, Westfall, Ali mentioned about the Westfall Inn roof. They did a good job, though, at building that entire fortress around Westfall. I forgot that wasn't even in there in vanilla. So we have some really good masons. And though the masons, some of them are part of the Defias, some of them are part of the dwarves. And without the Defias, we would be missing some people who helped build Stormwind.
Yeah.
So with all this speculation, so some news came out from Wowhead that patch 8.3 has a build 32044. It's on the PTR. So it's encrypted, but there it's on there. And Wowhead has said that typically this means that we will see a PTR not too long after. So watch that, like Tuesday, we get an announcement.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see the announcement of a stream too with Ian and Laura. They haven't done one of those in quite a while.
Yeah.
They switched it up a little bit too lately, where they had who's doing some of the other ones? I think Muffinus, didn't he do some?
Yeah.
He did one, and they switched up the layout of it a little bit, which was nice, where he just kind of came on and presented information. And it was quick paced, and I liked that as well.
Yeah. And it's fun hearing it from their perspective, hearing their excitement.
I kind of think if it's not even on the PTR yet, I wouldn't think it's, and 825 just dropped, I wouldn't think it's going to come out before BlizzCon, but they'll probably get into the details, and it would drop shortly after. And then maybe the raid, if they delay the raid like they usually do, we wouldn't get the raid till December or maybe even January. I'm
going to guess January because we're getting Firelands for Time Walking in December. So I think they would.
Okay.
I know it's a week, but they would probably wait a little bit longer from.
That makes sense. I'm looking forward to that too. Firelands is, I've never done it at level, but it's one of my favorite raids to go into.
Mine too. And it's so cool. In fact, a cool bit when CTR did the party in 2017, they were doing a photo booth and they were asking for different things because Silverbolt had started the Azeroth Photo Explorers and they were looking for people. So in the photo booth, if anybody took a picture against a Firelands thing, I was the one who sent that in. And then they had somebody like pretty it up to make it look like high detailed and up res. But it's so cool to see a picture that I took in game.
Sweet. I love that approach where you're fighting your way down the bridge to get to him. The music that's playing is fantastic. And then he's just so huge, especially compared to the way he looked in vanilla. When he rises up out of the lava in Firelands, you can get some really good pictures there of your character just silhouetted against like his massive form.
Yeah, I got to go in there. I still got to get the Ragnaros cereal achievement. And I do like one thing I saw from Ali that it would be cool at BlizzCon. Start opening ceremony with 8.3 and I'd be like, oh, well, you didn't just come here for 8.3. Here's the expansion. I mean, it would be a cool surprise.
I think it's pretty much a given they're going to announce Diablo 4, but they should come out first and pull out a cell phone or something. Drive them crazy again. Since I felt they kind of overreacted to that, but just make them think you're going to announce another Diablo cell phone game.
So BlizzCon 2019 virtual ticket has come out, and there's the items for other games like Overwatch, and they're still like working on stuff for like you get a Tyrande Symmetra skin in Overwatch, and like the cardbacks and like Hearthstone and different things in different games. But what I think is interesting is we get a Finduin and Gilvanis in-game pet in WoW.
Yeah, have you messed around with them at all?
I did the Finduin. I did not look at like their specials and stuff like that, but Finduin's already pretty cute.
Yeah, I've had him running around with me. I haven't checked out the Gilvanis one yet, and I saw videos of like Finduin does the mass res that Anduin does in the opening cinematic, which is really cool.
Oh yes, and Gilvanis does Shriek.
Yeah, I really liked the items this year.
Yeah, because like last year was the toys. The toys weren't my favorite thing of last year. Like if I was not doing content, I got amazing stuff from the virtual ticket, but I might not have bought last year. But the year before, I still used all the items from the year before, like the Zeppelin and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the Wendigo Woolly was a nice way to mix it up, like to give us a transmog set that's completely ridiculous and just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Moogle and the chicken suit from Final Fantasy XIV, because I was a Lalafell in Final Fantasy XIV, and my go-to attire was the Eternal Bonding satin outfit with a Moogle head. So I was like a Moogle that walked around. It was ridiculous, but I looked kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, the only issue I've had with it, and I don't know if anybody else has seen this, I put that thing on and I've left it on, and the last 2 days when I log back in, it's gone, and I have to go back to my transmog mount to put it back on and pay for it again. Like it takes it off. So I'm just, when I log in, my character's standing there with his ugly mismatched armor, and it's just like basically taking my transmog off the character.
The game's probably like, oh, take it away.
I don't know if it's a bug with that outfit right now or what.
I can see that, and I know like Capel says it's too cute for his taste, but on a gnome, I like it a lot. I can see it being cool on a dwarf.
Yeah, it looks good. The feet crack me up. The feet are like so oversized on it.
Yes, and like the bottom, you can tell that it's one of those mascot costume type feet. It is so cool, and I like the little BlizzCon keychain around the neck.
So the only thing is with that costume is it kind of brings up the argument again of, so if you're going to let people run around the game all the time, Wendigo onesie pajamas, then why can't you wear rabbit ears from, the spring event? Why can't you just wear the rabbit ears whenever you want to?
Yeah, hopefully they're changing, because they just allowed for the Lunar Festival to get the flower crowns after doing a quest. So maybe we'll see in like 8.3 or 8.3.5 or somewhere 9.0 doing that. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, even the shades from the anniversary event, why we can't wear those glasses.
Yeah, and that's a cool way to do it too. I mean, I wouldn't want to see them tie all those things behind another grind or something, but if it's like a little short, interesting quest that ties into the holiday, that's a cool way to loosen up some of the restrictions. Give you a short quest chain to do that takes you like 15 minutes, and then you get to open up the transmog from the holidays.
One interesting thing in the text from Blizzard about the Wendigo transmog outfit that makes me wonder if it's an allusion to the next thing, because like the pet we got last year was shadow themed, and it's definitely alluding to where we could go. They say bundle up for your next trip to Azeroth's icy mountain peaks with the warm and whimsical Wendigo Woolies.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that.
I know that one of the flavor texts said like somebody was over up in Northrend, and I've been hearing like different people going to Northrend. I definitely have been hearing rumblings here and there about Lich King.
Well, yeah, because that's one of the other big theories is that Sylvanas is eventually going to be the Lich Queen.
I could see that.
Who knows? We could be going back to Northrend. That would be really cool if she decides she is talking about death, which I think the Lich King is tied into that whole, not a lore expert, but I think the Lich King is tied into the Shadowlands and all that. So That would be interesting if she decides to go after Bolvar.
Well, and take over control of the Scourge. I mean, because now the Forsaken have forsaken her after what she's done.
Right.
Except for the Loyalists. The Loyalists are still on her side, but yeah, taking over the Scourge and using their power to take on the Zoth. And the person who asked to keep them nameless in the Twitch chat, they said that they think it means the ice peaks of Tiergard Sound or Drusvar. I can see that. I mean, because there are a lot of ice peaks.
Definitely.
Oh, yes. The same person said if it is Shadowlands, we will have Varian and Vol'jin and Sourfang back. Oh, yes.
Hey, I'll take Varian back any day.
Me too. And speaking of being back, I want to thank you for being back for this episode.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I remember when you contacted me, you said it had been 2 years. I was like, nah, come on. Can't have been that long.
I was the same way. I mean, I kept thinking that you were on sooner. I was like, no. I was like, because I mean, back then I had everybody on and like regulars and like we had like people fighting for speaking. So then now going to the 1-2 guests per episode, it definitely limits how often people can be on.
Right.
It's better for me in editing at least because I can control the show and the show's not 3 to 4 hours like that.
Yeah. Yeah, those were definitely some marathon shows.
Yes.
Your agenda would kind of just get lost.
Absolutely. And that's why I brought in the segues and moving things along. But yeah, thank you for coming back again, Jere. It felt like old times, and I'll definitely have you back on again. And if you can't make a raid night, we can move to another night too. So I don't want to abuse Lonnie and Echelon and Ben's good graces.
No, that'd be great. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad you had me back on. Thank you very much.
So where can we find you on the interwebs?
Pretty much just Twitter. Yeah, Jere_Rage, which that's my name simply because I couldn't find any other combination with Jere. Like Jere was taken. I think on Twitch, I'm Jere73. That was taken. I kept trying different names, and I was like, well, I'm a warrior, and I use Rage, so I'll just go with Jere Rage.
Absolutely. If a Navox were to be listening to this show, a Navox would always be like, yeah, love Rage, and keep your swords wet and your banners high. Now, that's an Uncycled Furry reference, so I don't want to steal their...
Yeah, be careful. You're going to get hit with a cease and desist.
Yeah, I don't want to cease and desist from them.
Activating customized Orphan Safe transporter.
Well, I am back at my home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Gnomergon.
Wow, I'm a gnome.
Let's look at what has been happening in the community.
Awesome idea. Let's do that. So Running of the Gnomes is on October 12th. It'll be on Scarlet Crusade US at 7 p.m. Eastern. The donation link is up, so I got in the show notes as well. The goal was 5,000, but they hope to double it. And this year, Running the Gnomes will benefit the Pink Fund, a group committed to providing financial support to help meet basic needs, decrease stress levels, and allow breast cancer patients in active treatment the ability to focus on healing while improving survivorship outcomes. And BlizzCon is almost here, so we have some events happening at BlizzCon that I want to make sure that you have on your calendar. So DigCon is on Wednesday, October 30th from 8:30 to 1 a.m. It's free. Registration is required on their site, so that way they can know who's coming. Come dressed as a villain and prepare for a fun time, drinking, mingling, and DJ Grains, along with swag giveaways and a Michael Jackson dance-off. And Con Before the Storm is Thursday, October 31st from 5 p.m. to midnight. It's powered by Wildhead, free, no registration is required. So meet guest personalities, podcasters, streamers, pro teams, artists, and members from your favorite fan sites. There'll be a fan art gallery, a photo booth, World of Podcasts, and more. And while I was getting ready for the show, I checked the website and saw that Pod Before the Con is October 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So check their site for details on all this and more. And I found out that Dungeon Fables, For Azeroth, Merely a Setback, and Morally Great Podcast are planning a BlizzCon meetup called the Council of Beersfall. Interesting. Beer. I don't know how that would relate to any of those. So it will be at the Anaheim Hilton on Thursday, October 31st. So I will let you know when I hear the time, but keep an eye on the Twitter accounts and Discord channels for these awesome shows. And can't make it to BlizzCon? But do you want to meet up with others for viewing parties? So Wildhead reports that Blizzard has teamed up with Meltdown Bars, which has 20 locations across the world, for viewing parties on November 1st. There are details in the link in the show notes. There'll be trivia, local influencers, and more will be at each viewing party.
Odd groups go to left, even groups go to right. That means 1, 3, 5, 7. Throw more dots, more dots, more dots. Whelps! Left side! Even side! Many whelps! Now handle it! 50 DKP minus!
So those were clips from a video that may many of us will remember from Classic, and even if you haven't played Warcraft in Classic, you will remember this. So Athlos of Warcraft Radio interviewed Dives, the 50 DKP minus raid leader, for the quest. So I got a link in the show notes to this in-person interview with the raid leader on that fateful and long-remembered Onyxia raid. And a few episodes back, I reported thanks to Alessander on the Classic duel tournaments that were happening in Classic. Well, WoWhead reports that there is now a Classic Duelers League where you can win $50,000. So those duel requests that Geodesic Dragon's add-on thankfully declines for me, well, you can now win money with those. Registration already started on October 1st, and October 17th begins the qualifiers. So may the odds be ever in your favor. And WoWhead has continued their streak of site updates. They have a new Classic Hunter Pet Skill Training Calculator. And speaking of Classic, WoWhead points us to a map by Rihanna Lord of Reddit that shows a bunch of details about the continents in Classic. There are sub-regions, flight maps, level ranges, boat routes, and the list goes on. And we've talked about the Lich King in this episode, and Northrend definitely isn't on Rihanna Lord's map from Classic, but Icy Veins posted that the Danish National Symphony Orchestra has also performed Invincible. So even if we can't get the mount drop, we can at least drop the music into our ears. And Alessandro alerted me to an article from PC Games In about how in League of Legends, the champion Veigar has their roots in an all-gnome warlock guild in WoW. So that is really cool. It's a small tidbit, but it's big to me. Well, there's been another episode of FrazlCast. I want to thank Mr. Bohemian for the review of the Fraz Report. The report that I include in this FrazlCast episodes. So they said, love how Frazley takes all small news seriously and pours energy into everything. And thank you to Garishar, who tweeted out that they listen to Sweet News and Making Sense of the News, these episodes of the Fraz Report. So hearing things like this means a lot. You put out content, but it helps to know that people are listening. And over on Twitch, Frazzlefooey the Emote by Serenity Knight has been approved! You get it for being a sub on Twitch, along with Frazzle Facepalm and Frazzle Wave. And you can also unlock it for 24 hours using Frazzle Dazzles, which you earn just by watching. And in addition to thanking people who have given me shoutouts and different things, I also like to thank my Twitch subs out there. Thank you to Ali, Alessander, Amanda, Capo, Chris, Cogspring, Crunk, Cynic Dark, Gia Miabia, Jen, Karenzi, Chris W, Leo Wild, Michael, Navix, Peroy, Resurus, Seek Chat, Serenity Knight, Space Budgie, Sinister Gaming, Tom, Felicia, Watson0715, Winchester, and Zorts. And thank you to Kappa for the bits. If you want to support the show financially, please go to support.gnomepodcast.com. And if you have Twitch Prime through Amazon Prime, you can use your free Twitch Prime subscription on my channel. We are working our way to the next emote unlock. We don't know what it'll be yet. So all your support goes to helping support this labor of love. Well, I'm Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. So until next week, be awesome.
This report is brought to you by I Know What You Did Last Summer. 4 gnomes, 1 dark secret. This won't be overlooked. Coming October 11th.
Welcome to the Fraz Report, a short broadcast by me, the Awesome Gnome, about the world of Warcraft. So we're still alive. Sylvanas had to leave Orgrimmar. The Horde's version of Uber, Zap Tuit, refused to pick her up. A spokesperson for the company said Sylvanas was nothing. The war campaign concluded in 8.2.5, and unless something happens, we may not see any future story until BlizzCon. And the hype for BlizzCon isn't the only thing people are buzzing about. Stormsong Valley has seen a rise in tourists with the B-Mount. The increase in the economy is sweet to the merchants there, as sweet as honey. And WoWhead reports that the Reigns of the Bengal Tiger has been an unused mount since vanilla, and its data was updated in 8.2.5. They've sourced that the mount has gone to a Make-A-Wish player, and I'm all for that. I hope that the player, who is to remain anonymous, enjoys this mount. And Blizzard is making arcane mages feel a little bit more like Jaina, with an 8% increase to damage for all their abilities coming with the next reset on Tuesday, October 1st. Now, ships, a continent that hates you until you reconnect with your mother, those seem to be missing from the hotfix. Well, that's the news I have for this report, so until next time, Be awesome. Get it? B-E awesome.
Attention. Have you or someone you love become tired of listening to the same old World of Warcraft podcasts? Have you converted one too many weekly instances into lagging roundtables? Then come on down and listen to the only show for the everyday World of Warcraft player, the Unshackled Fury podcast. With insider analysis from two players who've seen it all and probably taken one too many shots to the head, the Unshackled Fury podcast covers all the news and notes you need to know in and out of the world of Azeroth. So come download the show now on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play today.
The Unshackled Fury podcast contains strong language, and listeners of the show must be accompanied by an adult at all times. Listen responsibly.
FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard games and are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended. The Gnome Train intro is by Allie of Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth, and the opening music is by Brandon T. Blaylock.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.